Now, oh shit, sorry. Okay, guys. Well, you heard the introduction anyhow. So I know that every one of you here knows everything that concerns transports and logistics here up in the high north. So you are substance people, but I think you lack the vision, and that's why I wrote there the vision thing. George H.W. Bush, the elder, he was excellent on substance, but he never could put together a vision. So let's turn around the issue. So let's make it to one vision supported by a few facts. And let's change the view so we look at the Nordic countries with Asian eyes from 30 years from now. There is a new ocean, the Arctic Ocean. The Northern Sea route is ice-free. The permafrost in Siberia is melting. We have a new shipping route from Asia to Nordic countries, to Baltics, Poland, and Northern Germany. What were the facts this was based on? Well, the European Arctic, as Anna mentioned, had 17% of the world minerals. The European Arctic had 25% of the world oil and gas reserves. The European Arctic had 75% of European forests. Norway produced 50% of all fish consumed within the European Union. And tourism in Lapland became an industry with Asia as its main customer. Asia, China, Japan, and South Korea and India needed energy, funny, energy, oil and gas, raw materials like minerals, iron ore, and rare earth metals like lithium for electric vehicles. They needed markets for their products, transport and alternative transport networks to markets, reliable infrastructure for the transport. So the target markets for Asian countries, they were the Nordic countries, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. The Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Poland. In 2016, the value of import from China to these countries was more than 50 billion euros, which was more than 10% of total imports of China to Europe. The total value of Chinese imports to Europe in 2016 was almost 500 billion euros. Asian imports from China, Japan, South Korea, and India in total were close to 800 billion euros per year. So Nordic countries and the Baltics, how are they economically? The Nordic countries are the 5th largest economy in Europe and 11th globally. The combined GDP of Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark is 1,423 billion euros, which is actually more than the GDP of Russia. The Baltics and Poland combined GDP was 561 billion euros, of which Poland alone had 469 billion euros. And the trade between Asia and Nordic countries and Baltics and Poland is estimated to triple by 2050, which means 150 billion euros just to these countries. Nordic countries and the Baltics, we have a combined population of 26 million people. The Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have 6 million people. The Nordic countries and Poland together with Baltics, we have more people than France. We are more than 70 million. So it's a huge market. And all of them had strong middle classes with high average incomes. So the transport networks from Asia as of 2018. Shipping is through Malacca Strait, Suez Canal with unloading in Piraeus, Greece for Southern Europe. And for Central and Northern Europe in Hamburg, Germany, Rotterdam, and Antwerp in the Netherlands. There the cargo is transferred to smaller ships, trains and lorries. China invested heavily in Piraeus port in Greece because the time to market sank with 4 to 10 days. The distribution hub in the north was missing. So now actually, I think everyone knows these pictures. So today, what happens is that the Chinese imports to Europe go through Suez Canal, but the southern Europe is actually covered from Piraeus, which is close to Athens. And then some of the transports go still to Rotterdam, Antwerp and Hamburg. If we were using the Northern Sea route, is there a point that we go to Rotterdam, then unload all the shipping to trucks, lorries, trains, and transport it here? No, I don't think so. So it's actually better to start thinking what we should be doing. So the infrastructure for Asian trade through Northern Sea route with Northern Europe. Asia needed a transport network, a safe infrastructure to serve its trade with Northern Europe. Northern Sea route ran along the North Russian coast with 17 ports and 82 airports. Russia had 40 icebreakers along the Northern Sea route. China had one, and one nuclear icebreaker under construction. The Northern Sea route cuts the transport distance with 30 to 40% from Asia to Europe. The transport time from China to Europe went down from more than 35 down to roughly 20 days. The permafrost was melting in northern Russia, forcing the Russian west-east transports to Northern Sea route. This is already happening. So the infrastructure for Asian trade through Northern Sea route with Northern Europe. The Yamal LNG had 17 ice-going tankers serving customers globally, traveling east-west, east from Sabetta. Arkhangelsk deep sea port and the Belkomor Railroad served inner parts of northwest Russia and Siberia. It's not there yet, but I'm sure that it will come. Railroad from Murmansk to St. Petersburg and to Moscow was the artery for Allied support during the Great Patriotic War. It still was the mainland transport medium between the Arctic Ocean and Russia. So the infrastructure for Asian trade through Northern Sea route with Northern Europe. Kirkenes became the seaport hub for Asian ship transports to and from Northern Europe and the Baltics, in the same way as Piraeus port is doing for Southern Europe, because it cuts time to market with 7 to 10 days. The Norwegian-Finnish railroad from Kirkenes on the coast of Arctic Ocean through Finland served Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland through the Helsinki-Tallinn tunnel along the Rail Baltica. The railroad also served northern Sweden and Sweden all the way to Denmark through Botnian Corridor and Norrbotniabanan. So let's look at this old picture. I think this is the oldest picture on Arctic Corridor, and it's actually very valid. Give me a reason why the Asian shipping should go past Kirkenes, down to Rotterdam, unload all the cargo there, put it on the lorries, pollute the air with their transports back from, through, all the way there, back to northern Finland. There is no point. Or if we look at the Baltics, or if we look at Poland. So Kirkenes is actually in the center of everything. So what is needed to make all of this happen? Well, to ask the Asian countries, China, Japan, South Korea, India, and Singapore, what their needs are for success. To present them a solution, how to get an alternative transport route to and from Northern Europe and Nordic countries. What is the approach? It's the Northern Dimension. I will explain what the Northern Dimension is. The Northern Dimension is a joint policy between European Union, Russia, Norway, and Iceland. In addition to the 4 also participating are EU member states, in their national capacity. Regional councils, which you all know, Arctic Council, Barents Euro-Arctic Council, Council of Baltic States, and the Nordic Council of Ministers are members of Northern Dimension. And Belarus participates in practical cooperation. For the Northern Dimension sectoral cooperation and implementation, there is something that's called the Northern Dimension Partnership for Transports and Logistics. And it's actually the acting tool. So the European Union, they want to preserve the pristine Arctic. That's what they say. Russia and China and the Asian countries want to do the same. But they focus also on the business opportunities the Arctic has. The European Union wants primarily study and decide what to preserve and what it may do someday. China, Russia, and the Asian countries talk about what they already did, what they are doing now, and what they are going to do in the future in the Arctic. So, the European Union and the members have an operative instrument in the Northern Dimension. The Northern Dimension has opened the so-called Arctic window, so Northern Dimension can handle Arctic projects. Russia also supports this on governmental level. The coverage area of Northern Dimension is first-hand the European Arctic. Northern Dimension Partnership for Transport and Logistics, they actually cover the whole Northern Sea route in its active network. So the NDPTL is the tool for connecting the European TEN-T and the Chinese One Belt, One Road networks. With China's entry to Arctic, China should be a part of NDPTL. Let's hope it works. The future of shipping along Northern Sea route is fully dependent on the two countries, Russia and China. Russia has the ports, the airports, the icebreakers, and the infrastructure needed along Northern Sea route. China and Asian countries have the goods and the needs for what the Nordics can provide. China is not a market economy, so the Chinese state decides where the goods flows will travel. So it's not market reasons, it's the state which decides. Next step is China, Asia for us. The governments in Northern Dimension countries, especially in Norway and Finland, should prioritize this issue on their own agenda with China, together with European Union. Open the dialogue with Chinese government because OBOR and Polar Silk Road are projects of the Chinese state until 2049. The countries in Asia, with China in the lead, see the European Arctic as a gateway to and from Nordic countries and Northern Europe. The next step with European Union. And there is a summary report which is called Arctic Stakeholder Forum. And there are a few statements made in that. Let's hope this works. Come on. It states on pages 9 to 10, there was a call to consider developing the Arctic corridor line from Finland to the Arctic Ocean. It was stressed that it is now time to make concrete plans and to put in place financing arrangements for these projects. The Finnish government in particular considers that a railway from Finland to the Arctic Ocean could support economic growth and increase climate resilience in Europe and globally. The major industries in the region, mining, fisheries, agriculture, forestry, and the growing tourism sector require efficient and more sustainable transit routes for goods and people. So our next step, we have what Asia and China need, the market for their goods, energy, raw materials, and food for their growth. The European Union has identified economical and potential and key investments needed for the European Arctic in the Arctic Stakeholders Forum summary. And China has identified the economical potential of the European Arctic in its white paper titled China's Arctic Policy, Polar Silk Road, and that they facilitate connectivity, sustainable economic and social development of the Arctic. So, that was it. We should make our governments finally act on this issue, instead of taking it regionally. So now you have the decision makers here, you should talk to them, because this is not a local, a regional issue, this is an issue for our governments. Thank you for your attention.